Hi everyone, I'm recording this after having already reacted to RWBY Volume 9 Chapter 5, just to put this at the start of the video to say that I am treating the rest of my reaction videos for Volume 9 as a reaction and a review. That there is the reaction, and you, of course, as always, can just skip ahead to it in the play ahead if you want, if you're just here for the reaction, but I am going to spend a lot of time talking about the episodes before and after them, and essentially reviewing them, and that is especially the case for this episode. There's a lot that I don't quite get to in the reaction itself that I do want to make evident in the video. Just making sure that the content of the episode is actually relevant to sort of the discussions that are being had about the episode, just to make sure that I do get through everything that I would like this kind of video to cover. Essentially what that means is I am going to do the before the reaction, react to the video, have my thoughts immediately after the reaction in these videos, but I am also going to be inserting the next day like I'm doing right now, just to make sure that I get all of the discussion into the video that I think is worthwhile. So do please stick around until the very ends of these videos if you do want the fullest extent of what I think. And that all being said, let's get into the reaction now. Hello everyone, my name is Raiji and welcome to my reaction to RWBY Volume 9 Chapter 5. This one is called The Parfait Predicament, and it is one of the shorter chapters of the volume at only 16 minutes, which is 14 minutes once you remove the intro and the credits. So, as always, to get into my reactions, I have a Patreon. If you want early access to it, you can sign up for that. And please don't comment on spoilers for any future episodes after the one that you are watching. I will not be able to launch Chapter 6 and so on and so forth until a bit after these episodes are uploaded on YouTube here in my reactions. So please don't spoil me for any upcoming content after the episode of this reaction. As far as last episode, we spent a lot of time with the Curious Cat, like a lot. There was a lot of lamp shading from the writers. There was probably a lot of setting up future plot points that we just don't even have any reference to know that like they were really setting up things. But a lot of what happened might actually become important, like the fact that the Curious Cat was taking pictures on Ruby's scroll, like the fact that the Curious Cat caught a butterfly and it exploded into other butterflies, magical butterflies upon its death or something like that, as well as making Ruby feel a lot worse than she did before, as if that was possible. Somehow you just descend further and further into madness. And the herbalist, once we got to the herbalist, was frustrated at Team Ruby not understanding purpose, not understanding the questions that they were asking, because that's just sort of, they were just asking questions that people would just understand. In the society of the Ever After, it was asking pointed questions that would make sense. And the Cheshire Cat as well was always talking about things in terms of purpose, that the Ever After is constructed according to the purposes that are in it. That's why everything looks so disjointed. It actually does have a place and a purpose for the people who live in it. And then finally getting into the trips that Team Ruby takes. Weiss, Blake, and Yang are totally good, totally having a good sense of self, understanding what their purpose is as a huntress, but Ruby is at her lowest point, where she's genuinely ready, basically, to give up that purpose, has no idea who she is or what she is, which is the question that everyone keeps asking her. So Weiss, Blake, and Yang are still tiny. I thought that was going to get resolved last episode, but it looks like this is the time for that because this episode is called The Parfait Predicament. So to get into expectations for this episode again, I do believe that Weiss, Blake, and Yang are going to be normal sized again by the end of this chapter, but we'll have to see. I do believe that we will see Jean this episode as well. I do think it's time for him because it's getting to be a little bit much. So I do think that we're finally going to get that. We'll have to see though. Maybe more Neo, maybe not. I think Neo might be saved for a bit later. I'm not sure entirely though. Other than that, I really don't have a clue. As always, I kind of say that like I want a big plot bomb to happen because I kind of just want this volume to get more in line with my expectations, but at this point I'm kind of understanding that you just have to put those aside and just go at Volume 9 for what Volume 9 is trying to give, right? So I do think that like a big plot bomb will happen later on, but it could also happen if this is Jean's time to come back. I do think that like one could happen to coincide with Jean's return, right? What exactly is going on with the Ever After that has maybe kept him from getting with the heroes until whatever point that he does. And as always, Alex, not until later. I don't believe we'll see the narrator either until later. One last thing, I wanted to make clear that like Chapter 4 has really grown on me over the last week. I might have seemed kind of underwhelmed by it in the reaction video, but I did try to put a like next day insert to clear that up. And I love Ruby Volume 2, the Mountain Glen arc. And that's so many callbacks to early Ruby were made in this last episode, and I really do appreciate being able to see where all of Team Ruby is on their journey. You know, Weiss, Blake, and Yang being in a good spot, Ruby not being in a good spot. Now, let's get into Ruby Volume 9, Chapter 5, The Parfait Predicament. That's right, we still haven't seen the Lively Carpenter and the Rusted Knight. We still haven't seen either of those two. So, maybe we'll see one of them in this chapter? I don't know what we're going to get, but there's only so much that we know. I think we're finally at a point now where there isn't much left that the intro or that the trailer as well can really tell us beyond what we've already seen. Now, we still do need to see Jean, obviously. Still need to see the Rusted Knight. Still need to meet the Lively Carpenter. Still need Alex. Still need narrator. But like, that's a very short list. So I am glad to kind of almost be out of what the trailers have shown and the intro has shown, and be able to let the rest of the volume speak for itself. Trying to find the herbalist now, or are they just escaping? Ruby's at a low point still. This is immediately after.
I'm so glad the four of you are still the four of you.
Yeah, but we're still tiny.
In the Ever After.
Yeah, people change. So did Jean? Is that what happened to Jean?
We ended up in that mushroom house to begin with.
Yep.
You know, where that delirious caterpillar guy tried to drug us and then was swallowed up by a freaking hole in the ground?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So
Alex had a
that
similar
wasn't
reaction
intentional
the first
then.
time she saw someone return to the Ever After, but it's not how it seems.
Return.
Well, I suppose it is.
Wait.
But not the way you think. If
So-
you think like Alex, which it seems like you do.
So the caterpillar is gonna get spat back out with a new purpose then?
Aha.
What?
We're here.
Are we here for like the Grogurt Parfait or for something else? What exactly is here? Okay, yes, this scene. Thank you. I've been waiting for whatever this is. I think we're gonna see Weiss at the top of this place by the very end. I think that was the shot in the one trailer.
So, Kat, going to explain to us how a giant caterpillar disappearing into a hole isn't how it seems?
Yeah.
When we break or wear out or simply finish what we were made to do, we're called back. But Herb, his heart was too weak to listen. So I gave him a little bit of mine.
Yeah, so they're gonna get spat out with a new purpose.
No. Well, maybe a little bit. But not at all.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah, well, the purpose is what keeps people alive in this world,
Herb's
apparently.
Properly returned, he'll be fixed up nice and made into the Herb he wanted to be when he was still Herb. Then he'll come back and find his purpose. Could be the
Okay.
same as before.
Could be different, yeah.
Maybe not.
So,
Herb comes
this
back,
is foreshadowing for Jean, hopefully.
What would be the point of that?
Oh, no.
Just like Alex, you lot. I know where you're from, things.
So Jean doesn't remember
Just
then.
not like you at all. We
Or maybe he does? Or he could. I don't know.
will have a purpose again.
That's impossible. Things have to die someday. Right?
Goodness, no. Though I suppose there is a creature. No. That's not the sort of thing you talk about in polite company.
Oh no. So there is this bird. I remember this bird.
So, what happened to Herb? Is that what happened to the king?
Come on, try our mud cookies. They're delicious.
Yeah, I got regressed.
It was all very sad. The Red King couldn't cope when he lost to Alex. A crying mess.
Okay, so this
He
is
was called back and fixed up. And now he's the prince.
now he's the
you met.
now he's the prince, but at the same time,
The prince was worse.
yeah.
The prince isn't supposed to be nice.
Yeah, so by having a new
Play the game
purpose
and win,
of the
no
prince,
matter what.
that is a new purpose, a
That's
weight
what
that is not the
changed
same as the
way
king.
The Red King didn't. But that still doesn't explain why the Red Prince was so much meaner.
While the prince may not remember
I love this
Alex's
setting.
deception after ascending, the heart very rarely forgets.
But there was nothing about Ascension in the story.
So,
Of course not. Exposition is terribly boring. Even this conversation was, on the whole, rather tedious.
lamp shading, gotta love it. So Jean is
Parfait, one
still
needs
gonna
a
remember the
recipe
one
for
action.
Spicy potato, the lint off a Griffin's sweater. Ethel's dragons and more should have that, which is right next to.
I'll never remember all of that.
I can procure those. But there's another ingredient we must have that's only available on the 3rd level.
Oh no.
Some nose hair from a leprechaun.
What
What if you retrieve that while I go get the rest?
Sure, I guess so.
Wonderful. Look for
That
the
makes
teapot
perfect
lady.
sense.
She'll have it. Now,
The
off
teapot
you
lady.
go.
Wait, so is this where the carpenter, if the carpenter is the woman who I've been referring to as the blacksmith, if that's the same
Guess I better
character?
go with the cat so they
In-
don't get distracted by
in
his
the intro,
shiny
it did
doorknob and
show-
never come back. I'll go with you.
That
Get as far
them
away as
here in
possible
the
from any
intro,
neighbors, please.
which seemed a little out of place, but
Ruby?
could be here.
Nice try, kitty.
But we're coming along.
Yeah, we gotta make sure that you stay on task and don't get curious away from your what we're trying to get for you. What you're trying to get for us. No thanks, dude. We're good. More mice though. That's funny.
Onward!
You good? Little, you don't know where we're going, do you? You just know that it's ahead. And sleep.
Teapot lady.
Mm-hmm.
Teapot lady,
Teapot lady. Oh, yeah, this is who we've been referring to as a blacksmith of sorts. I don't like this at all. This is not fun. I feel like this is going to be very curious. Oh no, she has a sword. She has a sword, another sword. That's fun. That's right, we still didn't...
Interest you?
Does that one interest you? We still haven't seen,
I thought this was lost forever.
there's a shot
How
in the
did you
trailer that we didn't see yet with the sword.
No one is ever truly lost.
No one's ever truly lost. They just haven't found their purpose. Or they're a part of us as well. There is the shot.
Are you lost?
I want to see you!
I just,
Show us!
my friends went somewhere else.
What is that? There's a...
You're doing this all alone?
Ruby, I don't think
It-
we're supposed to.
There's another weapon in the background that was in the trailer as well that reminds me of Pyrrha, but I don't...
Yes.
Are you gone,
Ruby
little
is
one?
my friend, and I want to help her get home. Even though I don't know where that is or how to get there.
Oh. Oh, you're another, like...
Seem to be carrying a rather large burden with you.
Yeah, that is... I don't like this mask at all.
I can handle it.
Yeah, no, you don't. No, you're not.
Change your mind. You may choose any one of these you like. And set your burden down.
Are you gonna take the sword, or... Alex's dagger!
I
Oh
already
my
have
god. No, you don't.
one. I did.
And yet, here you are.
And yet here you are, you don't have it anymore.
Or something else that you do not even
I swear to God, that reminds me of Pyrrha's weapon in a way that I'm very not comfortable with. It really... Oh no. Is that Summer's weapon?
Who are you talking to?
Because I don't...
Did you retrieve the nose hair?
I don't think it is, but like...
They're delicious.
No.
That's my operating theory right now.
Ruby, come on. We got everything else. I'm sorry.
Got
Is
they
that the teapot
she
lady?
Best mud cookies you've ever had.
Welcome to Babies and Things. How can I help you?
What is going on here? Looking like a...
The ogre one?
I swear, if this turns out to be like a Legend of Zelda fairy from Breath of the Wild, the Great Fairies.
Woohoo! A festival.
Jabberwocker! It's a Jabberwocker!
Or
Danger.
not.
Their fireworks are a distress signal then.
Wait, please! We
Let's-
need those leprechaun nose hairs!
Oh, time.
Yeah, well, no, we'll take care of this.
I'll give you this! It carries a mother's promise!
Oh, that's sweet, but like, I don't know if I'm ready to deal with whatever that's gonna come around to be.
Wait, what's a
She just
Jabberwocker?
legit gave away a part of herself.
If the Jabberwocker eats one of us, we do not ascend.
Oh
How do
no.
we make the parfait thing?
How does it eat if it doesn't have a mouth?
everything in here.
I guess that, like, it removes its mask?
Eat too much and we'll have to shrink you back again. And that's a completely different potion.
This is so weird.
It wasn't enough.
So it's just slightly bigger? Oh god. Oh, now they just made it bigger, huh? That's fun.
No!
That's totally great. That's exactly what we need. Yeah. Yeah, this bird. That's right.
What are you doing here?
I gave him something new to do for the moment. Now go. Your friends need to get big again. or
Oh,
Jabberwocker
wait, can it change people's... So he gave a little... Or the Cheshire Cat gave a little bit of their heart. I think? And this is the white hair, or something along those lines. And yes, the armor that we've been speculating is to be Jean. Oh god. Yeah.
Did night.
There's...
The parfait.
So this is the rest of the night, and it is Jean. And it is not, or it could be Jean. God. I'm not prepared for whatever is going to happen next. I'm just not. Another song, awesome.
Follow me.
I'll have to... I still haven't listened to Checkmate again, which is a song from volume, or that third episode. But I will be, I will very much like to look into the lyrics for whatever the hell is happening here. Oh, and this is a shot that we've seen. Yang on their head.
I wasn't through with you yet.
Alright. Yes, and this is them performing their job as huntresses. That was just an illusion. Oh,
Neo?
God. So there's still another one somewhere.
There's only supposed to be one.
No. No, at least they know that there is only one, theoretically. That's definitely Miles Luna in a voice modulator.
Ruby, come on!
Go. Hold them off.
What is going on here? We just need to find the source, if possible. Why do they need to get up here exactly? So this is... They're being led here, okay. And this is Weiss looking at the destruction that the Jabberwockers caused. And I'm not sure if they'll be able to meet back up with the cat again. Or Neo has caused, rather. But if Neo does know the story, she knows what the Jabberwocker means to these people and how to become... and how to use that to her own advantage.
So tired of leaving places in ashes.
Yeah... It'd be like that. Oh god, the shield! The shield! So Jean was given a new purpose.
I can't believe it.
They...
The Rusted Knight. In person.
Take off your helmet. Oh, it's named Juniper. I'm not prepared for that. I am digging the ponytail, though.
You finally made it.
Yeah. So this is... Okay. Okay. So... Yeah, this was a shorter episode, wasn't it? Okay. Rusted Knight / Jean. The Hawker. That's right, Cesar Alta Garcia. That's right. Yeah, I remember Cesar at one point had put out a tweet saying that they were a big fan of the bird, the Hawker, which makes sense because they voiced the Hawker, like months ago, back when the trailer first came out. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So we have a little bit of Neo, not too much, but Neo definitely remembers the fairy tale, definitely remembers how to cause the most chaos in the world of the Ever After as she can. Which is really weird. It's really weird to go from the Jabberwocker as we knew to this guy. So this does kind of affirm some of my thoughts about Alex in this episode, that the Curious Cat's like, no, that wouldn't make sense, right? So, if Alex's purpose is Alex, and being Alex, whatever that necessarily means for her, she would reincarnate if she is stuck in this world. And her dagger is still here. I gotta go back to that scene in here. She has the dagger, I think she sets it back down, but that is Alex. Yeah, she sets it back down and she takes this. This, I'm 90% sure, is Summer's weapon. I am still gonna go with that is Summer because that does look like Summer's bangs as well. This is the same person. We're looking at the same person here. So this is Summer's weapon then. I don't currently see a reason to think that this isn't Summer. I might go back on that and insert something later on into this part of the video, but I don't think that's gonna be the case. So that is something. That is not nothing. That is something. If Summer did somehow end up here, whatever way that could have been, if she didn't die to the Jabberwocker, she is still around. And if that is also the case, I had a theory at one point that Summer Rose was the narrator for Volume 9. In that one trailer that we got a bunch of the narrator's lines in, I did speculate that that was Summer talking. Though at the time, I kind of thought that was like a flashback sequence type of deal, of Summer Rose reading The Girl Who Fell Through the World to Ruby as a bedtime story. Because even though we have this idea of Yang being the parent for Ruby, Ruby does still remember Summer, and that is something that Summer definitely could have done in that time period before she left on whatever mission that was against Salem that she kind of self-imposed because it wasn't an order from Oz by the way that Crow made it sound. So that's interesting. I was not expecting this episode to give us Summer, and again, I could be wrong, and I could insert again into this part. Or I might just, if I'm wrong, I might actually just cut this part out for all I know at this point, but I don't think I'm wrong. I think what I'm looking at will shine true. If this is Summer, does Summer make it out, or does Summer stay in the Ever After? That's another question. To me, somebody at some point did have to make it out for the story to be able to live in the first place. I do think that, but I do kind of just think that was Oz in one of Oz's former lives. I don't think Oz and Summer were here at the same time. out of everything I thought this episode was going to give me, and I did see Jean coming. There's only so much time that you can spend in Volume 9 without Jean. I trash him every now and then for being a supporting character because he's not Team Ruby. I'll give him a little slander, you know, a little fun jesting slander. But he does need to be here. So I am happy to see that we still have him, having been given a new purpose. But this is interesting because, as they kind of established again in one of the more recent episodes, they didn't know that Jean fell. They didn't know that he would be here, but we know. We knew. And as soon as I saw this guy, I'm like, yeah, that's close enough. That's exactly, we're looking at Jean here. And once I saw the sword and the shield, it's like, it's literally just rusted. I can't believe we got Summer in this way. And again, Ruby was taken out of the moment. She's consistently... Ruby has not had time. She just needs time. That's what she needs. She needs time. Because she's not able to get it. She's not able to allow herself to feel. She's constantly being put into the next thing through the world. And she's doing it herself. And she does say, like, I'm fine, I can handle it. You know, she's still not allowing herself to feel. But even the world isn't. Like, even the world is taking her out of whatever it is that she's doing. And not allowing her to be in the moment long enough that she actually did see what apparently is Summer's weapon. It seems a little bit out of place in comparison to all of these other nonsensical creatures that are in the Ever After that were shown in the trailer. Here's a shot of a weapon, because why not? And it's Summer's. That's so cool. Because it does kind of look like a scythe. Yeah, that can transform definitely to becoming more scythe-like rather than just axe-like. Because this doesn't look like a weapon that's from the Ever After at all. This looks like a weapon from Remnant. Sure, let's make a weapon that can transform in 3 different ways. Let's have nunchucks that are also a bow staff, that are also lever-action shotguns, right, in the case of Sun Wukong. That's the energy that you get from this. This is not from the Ever After. This is yet another lost, quote-unquote, nothing's ever lost, weapon. In saying that, those words also mean Penny. Those words also mean Pyrrha. Not in this instance necessarily, but they still kind of do mean Pyrrha, but then it also means Summer, right? Summer was not lost. Whether that means they're a part of you, or whether that means you might actually see a little bit more Summer later on. Oh my god. I can't believe it. I was, out of all of the things I was expecting to get out of this episode, namely Jean, I was not expecting to see Alex's dagger. I was not expecting to see Summer's scythe at all. Just wow. Just entirely just wow. This is insane. I don't even know where to begin. Like, for how short this episode is. Like, legitimately how short this episode is, we still got confirmation on how the Ever After works. And apparently the Ever After is the world at large, but also whatever's down where the herbalist went. Down where the herbalist was taken. I did read that at the time, that the herbalist intended to go down there. Alright, I can already kind of tell this is going to be another one of those videos where I'm going to insert something later. I'm not quite able to fully form all my thoughts now, so I'll just throw it on over. Alright, as I said before, I'm coming at you from the next day, and I've had time to look over the video again, look over Volume 9, Chapter 5 again, rather, and get through all the details that I kind of missed or didn't fully digest when I was recording for the first time. So I want to start off talking about Jean. He is the Rusted Knight, as we have been speculating. I really like the little details that he's tying his hair back with what little is left at that point of Pyrrha's sash. And he also has his warrior's wolf tail, like he had mentioned at one point, wanting or identifying with, or if he did grow his hair out, that's how he would wear it. And now he's wearing it like that. That's pretty cool. I didn't react to Jean being super old in the moment in the reaction because I didn't think that was necessarily the case. And what I mean by that is Jean looks old. He's obviously got long hair, he's got a beard, he's got all this stuff, he's got a gruff, deeper voice than normal. You know, Miles is portraying Jean very differently than he has before. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's old. And what I mean by that, we know that he's taken on a new purpose in the Ever After. He's been given a new purpose, and essentially, that's the same thing that happened to the Red Prince. In this episode, we've established, or the Curious Cat had established, that the Red King regressed into the Red Prince, and with that came a de-aging. So if the Ever After giving someone a new purpose can de-age them, it can also age them the other way, just the normal way. So Jean purely looking old doesn't necessarily mean that he has actually just aged at a normal rate in the Ever After, and that he's actually been down here the whole time. So I didn't react that way in the moment. That being said, though, I do see it that way now, partially for selfish reasons, for what that would do for theories that I can make, but also just because the way that the episode ends and plays out, it is kind of insinuating that, right? If it is going to end on this high note, well, for the audience, we already knew that Jean is in the Ever After, so purely having Jean at the end of the episode isn't necessarily a high note. For the significance of what that reveal means, if it does play as if him being old is relevant for the swell in intensity at the end of the episode, and that he is actually as old as he appears to be. So when I say it's good for my theories, what I mean is Alex, right? I don't... If you've been watching these videos, you know I'm more excited for Alex than anything else that Volume 9 could potentially ever give me, because she presents so many unknowns. She represents so many possibilities for where the show could go. And if we have Jean now, and if Jean is actually the Rusted Knight and he has been around for years and years and that aging is normal, he's the same Rusted Knight as met Alex. Now, it is possible for Juniper to be the original Rusted Knight, perhaps, and have been given the new role of the Hare when Jean came in, and Jean became the Rusted Knight, and now they work as a team, or something like that. Like, that is possible. But to me, because I selfishly want Chapter 6 to be an Alex flashback, or a Jean flashback that mentions Alex to some extent, for purely those reasons, I do want him to actually have been in the Ever After for 40 years, or however long it might be, and he's going gray because he's like 50-some years old or whatever. Like, I do want that. I am a lot more interested in a Jean that has been down here for so long, and we left off with his character at the end of Volume 8. Exactly what change has happened off screen in that time, and now what are we going to be seeing about that on screen, right? I am invested enough into Jean to see, like, what actually has been going on with you, my guy, you know? I've said this as well, like, I didn't have any theories because I was more interested in whatever the show would present than whatever I could possibly come up with. Now to transition to talking about Neo for this chapter, who had a very, very significant impact despite herself not physically being present in it. Neo presents the illusion of the Jabberwocker in one form, and then once Team Ruby defeats it, here's like 10 more at the same time, even though canonically there is only one actual true Jabberwocker, and Neo's manifestations can talk now. The theory that I had for this, that I saw online, that I really identified with, that I don't as much anymore, is that at the end of the chapter, that is Neo and not Ruby. But I want that to be Neo mostly because at some point in this volume, and it doesn't have to be this episode because I don't think it's true for this episode, but at some point in this volume, I do want Neo to disguise herself without the audience being aware of it until a following episode. Right, so essentially, I want a situation like this with Ruby now in a future episode of Volume 9, because this is something that has happened before, where the audience is taken out of the loop on something so that it can be revealed later. We have this in Volume 8, Chapter 12. We aren't given Team Ruby's plan, but we see it in action with Emerald against Ironwood at the start of that chapter. So it wouldn't necessarily be unprecedented for Ruby as a show to do something like that, but it would be the first time that we've seen it through Neo, and therefore it isn't something that we're necessarily expecting. And I know that, oh, this person is secretly Neo is a very Volume 3 theory to have, but I still like it. And again, I don't think it's true for this episode, but it is something that I would really, really want to see in a future one. Now let's talk a little bit about the blacksmith scene. Every episode wedges in a little something you weren't expecting. I loved seeing this episode with Ruby and Little going off on their own in the blacksmith. And that was so engaging to watch. I really loved the sound design and the cinematography for that scene. It probably takes the cake on cinematography and sound design in all of Volume 9 so far for me. Like, that was really, really cool. Really brings you into the moment. And the blacksmith is the third character in 3 episodes to remind Ruby that they could just throw it all away and give up one purpose and start a new one. Just take any of the weapons on this shelf or hanging on these walls, and you can start anew. You can start fresh. The way that the Ever After treats purpose, and it is identity, right? Your purpose is who you are. The herbalist says, it is what I am. It's identity, and Ruby's having an identity crisis in this volume that is so incredible for me to see, and I'm yearning for the episode where that scene doesn't get yanked away from Ruby. In Chapter 3, it was right before a transition. Chapter 4, the Curious Cat cuts that scene short. In Chapter 5, I don't know exactly what caused that transition, but Ruby saw Summer in a remnant weapon, which at this point I'm just going to assume is Summer's weapon, and I've seen some people theorize that that's Ruby's weapon, or like Crescent Rose, but altered, because if Jinxie can alter a weapon to look like something else, then theoretically someone else could too, or something to that extent. And we also see Alex's dagger. So more and more and more Alex parallels are being thrusted upon Ruby Rose. And we still don't even know who that girl is. We still don't. We have an idea, and we've seen the consequences of it, and we've seen how people in the Ever After think of Alex, but we haven't seen Alex herself, and we don't know what she has to say about all of that stuff, and what her motivations actually were, and her thought process, and all of that stuff. So, again, I do want Jean to be the Rusted Knight, because I do want Jean to be able, or I want at least somebody, to be able to give us the fullest exposition of Alex. I don't think the girl who fell through the world spent that much time with the Curious Cat, and I am kind of worried for Robbie Damon, the Curious Cat, but at the same time, they can go invisible if they want, so I feel like they can outsmart Neo to that extent, and I don't at the moment see any reason to think that the Curious Cat is gone or dead. You know, no body, no death. If you didn't see it on screen, it probably didn't happen. And that cat was giving people new purposes. We are led to believe, because of their name, the Curious Cat, that is their purpose. But they've clearly demonstrated multiple times at this point that they do more than that. That they're more than just a cat that is curious. That they actually have a purpose beyond that with the way that they touch hearts, or whatever the heck that means. They can alter motivation to some extent, right? That's what they've done so far. I don't know, based on what they did to the bird, the hawker, I don't necessarily know if that's enough to go by, in that instance for what they're actually capable of doing, but they have altered motivations. They have set people on different paths in minor and major ways, with how the herbalist and how the Red Prince treated Ruby, and now how the Hawkers suddenly a lot more willing to fight the Jabberwockers. So who really knows, right? And the Curious Cat also at the start of this episode really, I think gave us just a little bit more about what the Ever After is really capable of, in that they describe the Ever After not as the place where they are, but as the place where you go to get a new purpose, which to me is a little insane. And last episode, in chapter 4, at the start of it, they had mentioned, that situation with Ozpin and Oscar is an inconvenient way to reincarnate. And you think, well, they just kind of know what reincarnation is, like at face value. They just have the idea of it, right? But they're actually familiar with actual reincarnation, because that's what happens in the Ever After. And at this point, I'm really leaning into the theory that the Ever After is the afterlife. I don't really see a reason to think that it isn't at this point. I don't think Team Ruby is dead at the same time, though. Or at the very least, the only way people typically enter the Ever After is through death. But because Team Ruby didn't enter it by dying, they still have their memories. Alex didn't enter it by dying, so she still has her memories. But other people like Torchwick or Penny or Pyrrha or Tucson, they would enter it by dying, and that is why they would lose their memories. And that is why they wouldn't see the Ever After as weird, because they don't have any memories for what constitutes as weird. I don't know if we're going to get through Volume 9 without at least one member of Team Ruby being shoved down a hole into the ground to be manufactured a new purpose. Like, I think Ruby might get to that brink. Because if we're going to fully explore what the Ever After is capable of, we're going to go to the place that's called the actual Ever After, and not just this world. Because, again, the Ever After was what Robbie Damon Curious Cat called the pit in the ground, and not necessarily just all of these different acres in their hexagonal shapes clustered together around a tree. So essentially what all of that, with the Ever After as the hole in the ground and the Curious Cat and what their words all mean, combined with what we know about what we got from the blacksmith scene, is that Summer is down here to some extent, or was down here and perhaps was given a new purpose. And I just don't see a Volume 9 where we don't get Summer physically even more. I don't think that's the case. Whether she is the blacksmith who hung up her axe scythe on the wall and gave up that purpose for a new one herself, or what have you, I don't think we can possibly get through Volume 9 without Summer Rose, or even without Penny if her sword's down here. And that's kind of the thing. One theory I've seen floated around is that because Penny died, if this is the afterlife, the Ever After afterlife, which we do know that an afterlife exists on Remnant, that I do think that Penny is the mouse, or has been reincarnated into the mouse, because it was very important that Little was in that scene with Ruby. And it was very important that the blacksmith, who can change purposes, or can give people a new purpose, it's very important for Little to be in that scene if Little is Penny. At the start of Volume 9, we see Little. Little doesn't have a purpose yet. Little doesn't have a name, Little doesn't have a purpose. They're new. They are new to the Ever After. Whatever that means, in whatever way a mouse can be born into the world and not have a purpose. So I do think that if they are so new, that is the way that somebody who has died enters the Ever After, and not the way that somebody falls through the world into it like Team Ruby. But ultimately, again, I am very much looking forward to episode 6, because you don't meet John in the Ever After and not ask him how he got there. So, if all of my theories are correct, we're also going to get Alex lore along with it if Jean really has been down here that long. That's gonna do it for this video. As always, I've got a Patreon if you do want early access to these reactions so that you can get them on the Sunday after the episode. Like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. I'm Raijin Rising. Have a good one.